diesel and LPG due to a global drop in finished product prices. This positive trend comes despite a slight depreciation of the Ghanaian cedi in recent weeks. The petroleum price, however, are expected to remain relatively stable, possibly with a minor upward adjustment of around 1%. COPEC Executive Secretary Duncan Amoah explained this dynamic by highlighting current international market trends. He said diesel price dipped by roughly 2.8% per metric ton on global market, while petrol experienced slight increase of 3.6%. The cedi, according to him, has remained relatively stable overall, although we've seen a 0.47 point dip in exchange rate. Now, the U.S. military carried out a new strike in Yemen on Tuesday against anti-ship ballistic missile in a Houthi-controlled part of the country as a missile strike struck a Greek-owned vessel in the Red Sea. Disruptions to Red Sea shipping caused by Houthi attack will push up prices of consumer goods in Europe, in particular. An executive from port and freight operator DP World said as the impact on commerce increased. The Iran-allied Houthi military has threatened to expand its attacks to include U.S. ships in response to America and British strike on its side in Yemen. Attacks by the Houthi on ships in the region since November have affected companies and alarmed major powers. An escalation of Israeli more than 3-month-old war with Palestinian Hamas militant in Gaza. Now, the Houthi says they are acting in solidarity with the Palestinians. The White House said additional U.S. strike on Tuesday took out ballistic missile Houthis were ready to launch, confirming a Reuters story earlier citing U.S. officials that a new strike was launched at 4 anti-ship missiles. The strike had not been previously reported. Meanwhile, France President Emmanuel Macron said at a news conference France chose not to take part in the US-led strike because it wants to avoid a regional escalation. The country has a defense approach in the Red Sea and will stick to this, said Macron. Some business giants are worried the crisis might cause inflation pressure, which could ultimately delay or reverse interest rate cuts and jeopardize hopes for the U.S. economic soft landing. Now, DP World CEO Naraviyan said he expects disruption to hit European import. While European consumers will feel the pain, it will hit developed economies more than it will hit developing economies. If you just join us, you're listening to Maritime and Port News. Inflation is at risk of rising again, according to leading economists, following attacks on ships using a vital trade route through the Red Sea. Mohammed Al-Erin said while disruption to shipment was not as severe as during COVID, he warned it would push up prices and hit economic growth. Several shipping firms have stopped vessels using the Red Sea route after attacks by Houthi rebels in Yemen. Now, last week, the US and UK launched military strike against the Houthis. Dr. El-Erin, president of Queen's College Cambridge and chief economic advisor at financial service giant Allianz, told the BBC's Today program, relative to what would have happened otherwise, we will see higher inflation, higher mortgage rate and lower growth. Around 12 to 15% of global trade travels through the sea via the Bab al-Mandab Strait, a 20-mile wide channel that split Eritrea and Djibouti on the African side and Yemen on the Arabian Peninsula and the Suez Canal. Iran-backed Houthi rebel began attacking commercial shipping with missiles and drones late last year after the start of the Israel-Hamas war in October. Now, the attack continued on Monday despite intervention by Western powers when the U.S.-owned cargo ship was struck by a missile off the south coast of Yemen, according to the British maritime security firm Umbre. Major shipping firms are now rerouting their vessels around Africa's Cape of Good Hope, which can add 12 days for cargo traveling between Singapore and Northern Europe. The delay could be even longer, as much as 18 days for vessels sailing between Singapore to the East Mediterranean, according to Hapag-Lloyd, the shipping giant. And on this note, to wrap up this morning's edition of Maritime and Port News, Maritime and Port News is proudly sponsored by the Ghana Shippers Authority. They provide you with the best in all your shipping solutions. Contact them at the Shippers House in Accra. My name is Nanesi Boateng, my producer Kwekwa Bwaji, and today is his birthday. Happy birthday to my one and only producer Kwekwa Bwaji. Have a blessed day too. Bye.
Sempermed range of products